What's up, guys? Today we're going to show you how we make sweet Filipino bread rolls, also known as Pandesal. It took us a couple tries to get this recipe down, mainly because we're not professional bakers and there's a bit of chemistry and timing that goes into it, but we eventually succeeded. To start, pour in half a cup of milk into a bowl and microwave it for about 30 seconds or until it's warm to the touch. It's super important that it's not too hot or too cold because next you'll want to pour in half a tablespoon of dry active yeast. Then drop in half a tablespoon of sugar and mix it around. The temperature of your milk should be around 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Otherwise, your yeast may not activate. Allow the yeast to activate over a span of 15 minutes.
Meanwhile, in a new mixing bowl, pour in 2½ cups of bread flour, half a cup of sugar, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Thoroughly stir everything together, and then create a well in the center, which we'll use to contain the wet ingredients later. In a new bowl, pour in half a cup of milk, and then add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We ended up cutting the butter into smaller cubes so that when we heat them up, they'll melt a little quicker and more evenly. So now, microwave your milk and butter for about a minute or so, or until the butter is fully melted. When it's done, give it a little stir, and add in 1/4 of a cup of milk. This milk will help the mixture cool down a bit, so that when you add in your egg, you won't run the risk of possibly cooking it. Next, just whisk everything together.
When your 15-minute wait for the yeast to activate is up, pour in and whisk your milk, butter, and egg mixture into the yeast mixture. Afterwards, take that mixture and pour it into the well you made in the dry ingredients earlier. Gently introduce the flour into the liquid. And then eventually, while having one hand cupped, sweep the inside of the perimeter and then fold it into the center. Continue to mix it this way until there's no dry flour left. At this point, your dough should feel goopy and sticky. Now you want to gradually add half a cup of bread flour. After each sprinkle, knead the flour into the dough until there's no dry flour. And repeat until you've incorporated all of the bread flour. Once you're done, cover it with a damp cloth and allow it to rise for about 45 minutes in a warm, draft-free area.
After your dough is done rising, flour your kneading surface with bread flour. If done correctly, your dough should have doubled in size. Now go ahead and take your dough and drop it onto your floured surface. Sprinkle a little more bread flour on top and start kneading it. Just take the top end and fold it over itself. Then push it forward and turn as needed. Keep kneading it until your dough is smooth and can hold its shape. Next, cut your dough in half and take one half and roll it back into itself. Then squish it to seal the end. Repeat these steps 2 to 3 times until your dough is shaped like a log. You might have to reshape it a little at the end to even it out. At this point, take a knife or a dough cutter and cut your dough into about 1½ inch wide pieces. Now take your pieces and roll them in breadcrumbs, and then arrange them on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper.
Repeat this process with the other half of your dough. Ideally, your pandesal are all the same size. When you're done, allow it to rise again in a warm, draft-free area. Allow your pandesal to rise for another hour. Once they've risen, it's finally time to start baking them. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees and bake your pandesal for about 14 to 16 minutes. And now you have a tray of freshly baked pandesal. We like to think that pandesal is the kind of bread that you can eat whenever with whatever. One of our favorite go-to snacks is a freshly toasted pandesal with a generous spread of Nutella. It's talagang tasty.